So now I've turned to the age 22. I've been thinking a lot about my past experiences, my life, everything that I've done in these 22 years. And I have done a lot and I have done nothing. While sitting alone at home, drinking maybe some whiskey, and just reading books or doing something, my mind sometimes goes all over the place and starts thinking about life. And the worst part about thinking is that what has been and is no longer in reality. So when I think about things I did when I was 18, 19, those things aren't me anymore. Those are just past experiences. The only reason why we care about those moments is because we remember those moments. If we wouldn't remember those moments, or if the universe didn't somehow record the moments of the past, it wouldn't be. I hate dabble into ideas of pessimism, and I've been speaking to this worthy guy much more now recently because of the podcast. Someone who quotes this, I don't know, the Romanian pessimist who lived in France. Just pure pessimism that life in and of itself is meaningless. It isn't Schopenhauer type of pessimism, which actually discuss the idea that there is worthy in fighting, but that every day, every life is a struggle. Like, the reason why I wake up is to struggle. That's something that you need a reason to wake up every morning because life is meaningless. So you have to push yourself into telling yourself it's somehow worth it. Which something Schopenhauer would say you have to do it because you have to fight. I guess that's. But this type of pessimism about the world, about the past, about everything, it's not healthy for one. So when you think about your past experiences, if you go into these pessimistic realms and start, in a way, comparing yourself to some idea, you will destroy yourself, sadly. There is a reason that in the 10 Commandments, one of them is not to be jealous. Don't covet your neighbor's wife, ox, or all of the property of him. And it is still one of the most important parts, not for any societal reason or civilization reason, but for personal reason. Should you be jealous that someone has more than you? Has a more beautiful wife? I'm talking about the simple things. You can talk about structural, inequalities, but I'm talking about the smaller things. I'm talking about, your neighbor having a wife that's more beautiful than your wife, or that he has a wife, and you don't. Should you covet? Should you be jealous? Should you wish that his things were your things? No. When it comes to thinking about my past, that's usually how I think as well. I obviously get jealous. I obviously wish that things were different. I wish that I could have done things earlier. But then I actually think about the situations and the nature around myself that I was put in. And I know that I couldn't actually have done much more. It's rather complicated, my past, and I'm not going to go into it. But it's kind of funny, whenever I usually ask women about trying to understand and dwell into my past, if I did anything wrong, or if I should have done anything that is better, that if I should have done other. And these women, the lovely thing about women is they know men sometimes quite well. These women usually goes and tells me that you have done nothing wrong. You have done everything in your power, and you have succeeded and surpassed what has been given to you. My life, when I was 18, I got an employment in a factory. I said no to it. The reason why I got an employment is because I was an extremely good worker. At least that's what I want to tell myself. That I was a good worker. I was 18, meaning I'm done with my schooling, and I could have worked, which I would have gotten a quite good pay. I would have worked there for quite a long time. But I didn't want that. Not that working in a factory is bad, that's not what I'm saying, but it's just not for me. told myself quite clearly, if I would take this job, I would have stayed where I was, in the state where I was, and not improved myself, which would mean that I would probably find a wife in the place where I was, and have children in the place where I was, and then I would hang myself. Useless to live in a world where there is no improvement of anything. If you can't be better, if you can't fight for something away from struggles, what is the point of living? If you are in a state of just existing, why exist at all? So I don't actually covet my neighbor's lawn or property, the Bible quote, because I knew that I surpassed what I had to. And I fight because I don't actually stay and look at others and say, I could have that, I could have that, because it's so much better. I actually do remember a story where, as a young child, I was very jealous. I had a crush on her when I was 10. I've known her ages, I've known her since kindergarten, but I had a crush on her when I was 10 years old. And she had a very big family. She had mother, father, grandparents, and cousins and all of that, when I had nothing. And even my mother remembers this when I talked to her about this. I turned to my mother, because we were like doing a thing, and I said, why don't I have that? Why don't I have this family? And I didn't, but in the same time, because in a way life was struggle, I didn't have the great family, even though that's a minute thing that wouldn't really make a lot of difference. But still, I mean, for a 10-year-old, that was quite a lot. I saw past that and I became something else. And I didn't become her, I became my own being of sorts, my own essence, because of the experiences that I've been given. The other experiences, more in my younger adult life, which I look at, and I ask myself why. I asked myself why I did half the things I did. Not that I did anything bad, just that I could have done it differently. I've gotten many different answers because I wish to understand how people work of sorts. I wish to understand why what some people would do in the place, if they were in my place. And women usually tells me to do what I did, which means I guess then I'm more a female character. I do think it's a more rational thing though. But certain more aggressive males have told me to take the bullet of sorts, meaning not to get shot, but meaning to take the bull by the horn and kind of ram it with aggression, because a quick answer, a quick snap of the finger solves any issue that you have today. Answer to them is usually won't solve the issue of tomorrow, only the issue of today. But I've tried to be good in the past, still today. I've tried to help whenever I could, give them a helping hand if they had to, hug them if I had to. And I've never really asked for them to help me back, but I've helped myself through the struggles that I have been given. And I guess that's a very manly way of doing it, you know. I don't need no assistance. Every bad thing that ever happened to me, I can handle it. You know, being pushed down to the ground, I can handle it. I don't need your help. I'm a man, and men handle themselves quite well. I mean, that is usually, in my worldview, a little bit, that I don't really care. Like, if a situation occurs where I'm alone in a horrible situation, I usually can handle it by myself. You know, I do whatever it takes, whatever it requires for me to do to fix the problem when I'm alone. But what scares me, and what scares me in the past, and kind of is a weakness of mine, is when it happens to someone I care for. How can you struggle when you are not the one struggling? How can you fight something which is not your battle, but it still affects you? It still has consequences of your life, but all you can do is wait and look and see. I try to see things out of a realistic way, not from a pessimistic or an optimistic way, even though optimism is. But I see life for what it is, and it is a struggle. Again, sure now. And it's a bitch. But it's also in a way absurd, which means that just that life is life is such a weird coincidence. Or even if there is a God, still a fucking weird coincidence. General anthropology source betterment of human, a reason for human existence, a reason for human civilization. Even then, it would be more or less useless, but at least you can claim it to be better because you have a claim on sort of deity, which, good for your ego, but not good for reality, I guess. Anyways, past is the past. The memories are weird because you think of them differently and you question your memories constantly. You ask yourself, you have the vision of hindsight now in the future, asking yourself if you can do right or wrong, asking yourself if you should be jealous of the past or the future. Anyways, take care, buddies, and fuck off.